And we are live. We're coming in like a wrecking ball. If you guys missed the conversation earlier, we were talking about wrecking ball. So we're here with Michael Lee and Callie Chase of Book Genie. Michael Lee, marketing master for Audrey Carlin, and Callie Chase. And Callie Chase, the author of 2 hit serials on the Kindle Vella now. She didn't want to just show me up once, she had to do it twice. One of those is Bug, and the other one is The Keeper of Gods, which she writes with Audrey Carlin. How are you guys doing today?
I'm great, Gage.
I'm great
Callie?
too. Thank you so much for having me again. Yeah, we're great.
Thanks for being back. So what's new with you guys? Anything? That's a surprise question.
I know. I think the big news is just writing all the time. 2 series is great. No pressure, no stress. It's fun. So
Yeah.
I think my hand is dead though. So if I just wave every once in a while, I'm just trying to keep the blood flowing so I can write later.
Yeah, I can't handle one. My Christmas tree is still up. It's almost Valentine's Day. Before we get started. So I have questions for you guys right away. We're going to get right into it. I've been seeing the conversation of going from Vella to ebook coming up a lot in the author pages and just about everywhere. And those questions range from the writing aspect to the marketing aspect. So I have questions for both of you. Today I saw one that asked if you should use a same cover or a different cover when you make your ebook version of your serial. And I'm going to try and answer that first. But Michael Lee's going to have to correct me, I'm sure. But going off of everything I've learned from Michael Lee, there's a consistency in branding that you would want to have, right? So I would say you either use the exact same cover or a similar one so that if people do finish your ebook and like it and want to continue the story, they can find your serial easier on Kindle Vella. Is that right?
It sounds absolutely correct. The only thing I'd add to that is you don't have to go with the exact same imagery, and sometimes it can be a good thing to continue to refresh things. Kindle Vella can be an opportunity to really experiment and develop your brand as you're writing, rather than having a complete project that you then throw out there. Once you have the cover for an ebook, it's much harder to go back and change those the cover that you've stuck to. It requires a whole rebrand and issuing out of a new book. But in the same way that you can for an ebook, you can for a Vella to an ebook. And what I would say is just try to stick to the themes within the cover. So if you have certain color schemes, like we've got yourself and Bug on the screen behind us, if I was taking the Bug cover and turning it to a ebook cover, we may have decided that we didn't want to use that exact imagery because we would like to give it a new look, but sticking to those memorable themes, if it's the girl with the dog or the green color schemes, trying to bring those into the book cover can bring a sense of familiarity with the new release, which is important to make sure it's familiar to your base and doesn't feel like a completely different thing.
Do you have anything to add there, Callie?
No, I totally agree. I just think too, it sort of depends on if the author designed the cover planning at some point to have text. Like, for example, when I had the Bug cover designed, it was early days of Vella when you definitely were not, they were saying you weren't allowed to have text. So just to kind of piggyback to what Michael's saying, if I were to ever use that art as a cover, it might involve somewhat of a redesign, only because I'd want the font to fit beautifully, so that my name is visible enough and the title's distinct enough. But yeah, I think that's about the only other thing I would add is if you haven't designed that centered kind of perfect Vella cover circle that would accommodate, looking like a well composed ebook cover or paperback cover, you might want to consider, where the font goes and things like that before you make a final decision about what that final next cover is going to look like.
Are you planning on putting Bug out in ebook? Or are you not sure yet? Or
I have to tell you, as much as I would love to, there are reasons at the moment why the answer is absolutely no. It's personal for me on this project primarily because of the structure and the length. So right now I'm at like 79 episodes into Bug. I have over 210,000 words published already on Vella. And so if you're comparing, a series to a novel, a 200,000 word novel is a massive thing to put together. And in terms of like pages, it would probably be over 800 pages, even in like an ebook form, unless I were really going to give you like micro font. And so structurally, it doesn't feel like there's even a good pause point. If I were to maybe plan to do volume one, volume two, I'd still have a very difficult time structuring it so that it would feel like a natural break, which is probably a problem that's more unique to a series like mine and maybe yours, Gage. I'm curious to see what your plans are. So at the moment, I mean, I went into Bug thinking like infinite horizon, assuming I could continue to make the story survive that long. So ebook would be really tough. So I'm just at the moment psychologically like, no, can't do it, won't do it, doesn't fit. Keep going series and just plan the different arcs that I had planned for the characters and the timing. But that's just the, novel structure, purist in my head. That's like I can't make that work. I need to like completely revise and change so much. So
that is a huge issue that I'm having too. Before I get into that, I just want to add that I haven't said yet. If you have any questions, feel free to send them our way, and we will try and answer everything that you have to ask during this video. Yeah, for Winter's Myth, I have the same problem. I do want to put it in ebook eventually, but I literally have no idea how I would do it because the restructuring would just require so much, and there's no way that I can. I've made this a long game at this point, so I've intentionally avoided answering a lot of questions that aren't going to get answered for a very long time. And an ebook reader could get very frustrated with how much doesn't get answered at the end of book one. I've checked out Nikki St. Crow's ebook because I think someone who's doing it very well, where she sort of lets the reader know in the beginning this is part of a serial. It's a long running series, so they kind of go in knowing that. So if I were to do it, that's how I would do it. If I had the money, I would turn it into a graphic novel because that's a platform that people expect, that they know going in that they have these arcs that continue and you're not going to get all of your answers in one book. But I don't know that I would ever be able to afford an artist for that because I'm not drawing it myself.
No, I think Nikki's a great example to bring up, but the thing I would add to what you both have said already is that the underlying part of that question of what should you do lacks the question of why are you doing it. And the thing about Kindle Vella is that at first it's a serial fiction platform, and it's not your traditional novel. It doesn't fit the content, the type of content Kindle Vella is after. So if your intention is to make these ebooks, then you need to think about how that play. Are you hindering your performance on Kindle Vella, or are you going to hinder your performance as an ebook? Or otherwise you're going to find yourself writing two different styles of content. You're doubling your efforts, and so if switching thinking about the covers is great, but thinking what is the objective with this? If you are coming with the approach that your Kindle Vella is just a method for you to write the content and publish it whilst you're writing it, then that's one thing. But if your plan is to look for scalability, then it may make sense to really pin down which type of content you are writing this as, and really focus on selling that format first. Nikki's a great example, but in many ways she could be considered a bit of an anomaly, because there aren't a lot of other people who have been able to replicate the same success for the same reasons. And she's fantastic at what she's doing, and you should absolutely look at the KU releases for Hot Vampire Next Door that she has had out. And she praises her TikTok and her newsletter too, which I think are great avenues for marketing. But to extract that, what Nikki's has done, if you just replicate the exact same thing, that'll equal the same results for you, isn't necessarily proven yet, because we just don't have enough people who've been able to show it yet. And so I would just take that with a grain of salt, and think about your own brand first before you start thinking about what other people have done.
And I'm sure that has to do with genre too, right? I mean, in certain genres, they expect multi-book series with open-ended questions at the end, whereas like maybe in horror or in those genres, they don't have that as much, so the reader may not be expecting it and may not be happy with it.
Exactly. And if anyone's read my data that I put out monthly on Kindle Vella, you would see that paranormal romance is the strongest genre on the platform, and you can go into the top 250 Vella series, and if you look through even just the top 25, there are dozens of those. It's overwhelmingly paranormal romance right now. And so if you're not in paranormal romance, say you're writing children's stories or sci-fi or fantasy, then some of it's not a like for like comparison, because you're in a different genre and your base is not the same as a paranormal romance base. The engagement levels and the interest levels and what's going to get a reaction is very different. If you look at John Conroe, look at the difference between John Conroe's marketing efforts and advertising efforts, and compare them to Audrey Carlin or Nikki, and you'll see it's completely different. And he has a very different base, and what he does for his base works for him. And he trying to that comes back to marketing efforts, and it's really important to test yourself and learn from your own results than just heeding the advice of other people in itself, because audiences are going to have different preferences, and looking at the extreme polarity of, say, Conroe versus Nikki and Audrey is a clear example for people outside of the romance genre why some of the romance marketing tactics might not like for like work for them.
So I think that there's a lot of people who are moving their stories over to ebook. Would you suggest that for most especially new authors, kind of wait and see and sort of watch what happens with everybody else for a while, or don't even consider it right now?
I think it's not an easy question to answer, because they're two serial. It is just two different platforms, and you're what is your long-term goal and what's your long-term focus needs to be ingrained in each author, and trying to extrapolate from the top 25 a roadmap for, oh, this means I need to be an ebook author as well from Kindle Vella, I think is crazy at this stage. It's slow down, have some patience. The platform isn't international yet. It's still early days, and so I wouldn't be jumping to I've got to do this, and this because someone else is doing it. It should, at first, with your strategy and your plan, it should be very self-focused, because if you allow for what other people are doing to affect you too much, it kind of scatterbrains your plans and doesn't really give you direction. So if you're on Kindle Vella right now, think, what made you join Kindle Vella? Have you achieved it? Why haven't you achieved it? Is there something you can be doing more that can help you get there? Or is this the right platform for the content you're writing? And if not, then revisit, then ask those questions. But you need to ask those questions from a self-oriented view, as opposed to so and so's doing it, that person's doing it, so it means I must. This is the only way to get to the top 25, or something like that.
Callie, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, and it's kind of more on the structure point, but like for example, I really agree with what Michael's saying about every author sort of has to analyze their own genre and subgenre to know what the readers will expect. I read a lot of zombie novels outside of Vella, and they're very frequently written in series, and so you've got like you're gonna buckle in for 9 books where all this stuff is happening. But I started one recently that's like 700 some pages on Kindle Unlimited, and I was like, okay, maybe this is like a roadmap for what I can do with Bug if I ever decide to go that route. But as I got into it, I was seeing more and more. Bella has spoiled me. Like we're all writing, I think, in that mindset where quick, get to the action, move things along. So within the first 3 episodes, you're really trying to engage the reader, hook the reader, make that story take off quickly. And this ebook that I was reading, and this is not to like criticize it or put the writer down. Like if I were writing a novel, there is that setup phase, your act one, that you're doing certain things, and that takes time in a novel. But thinking in that mindset of like Vella translating into ebook, this ebook, like 50, 60 pages in, nothing happens. Like you're aware because the news reports, are there, so the zombies are coming. There's a lot of character groundwork that's laid. And it's not that it's not interesting, but the way that certain series are structured that are maybe, for example, not romance, I have so many POV characters. That might not be as much of an issue with you, Gage, but I have like a cast that is easily 10 characters. I have to keep track of them on a piece of paper as I'm writing the scene so I don't lose them. And I think to go to a book, I'd have to figure out if there's an anchoring point of view that I'd want to reframe the series around. And, I don't know for you if it would maybe be a little bit easier because you don't have 15 different voices coming in each episode. But that's, I mean, just to sort of solidify Michael's point about, in theory, we would all want to do what's working for everyone else and model ourselves after that. But it's, I think, only works to a point. At some point, then you really need to be a good student of your own genre and know what readers, when you leave sort of the Vella bubble, what they'll expect to see. And that's everything from structure, point of view, even verb tenses and things like that. Like if you're doing stuff that's not commonly done because you're writing in present tense or something like that. It's just, I think a lot more homework is needed before there's like a solid formula or a good answer, to say, here's the roadmap. You start on Vella, you write your, 800 pages, and then you move it into the, big wider world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so tricky with just, I can have fun on Vella where I build up the tension and build up the tension, build up the tension, and now here's a Kevin Bacon episode. And in a book that just doesn't, I don't know. It would need to be completely reformatted. And like I said before, with all these like open-ended questions, I mean, some of them are like, who are these people? Like the big questions that you would have, and I'm only like trickling those answers in and giving a little bit of their background all the time, and I just don't think that would work in a book format. But like maybe when I'm nearing the end and it's like, 300 episodes in, then I can go back and see if I can rework things and turn it into like a book series. But I think for now, I just can't. I can't even fathom it. We got Dorinda in here. Hey, Dorinda. So going with the concept of the structuring of a story. Callie, have you ever gone back to an episode and edited it?
Oh, I have not done major like major revisions, structurals. Literally, I've only edited typos or pulled out, like, say I repeated a word in a paragraph, which is like a pet peeve of mine as an editor. I might just swap out, gate for fence or something like that. I am terrified of doing major surgery on an episode, which I got a little bit behind in December and January for that reason, because I was on such a great schedule, and then I was like, oh crud, I have like so much that I want to move into in the story, and so keeping up the pace, I did get behind, and part of it was because I just didn't want to hit publish until they were closer to feeling ready. So no, I have not. I applaud anyone who has tried it. Other than fixing typos, I have a healthy fear of doing it wrong.
If you had a multiple readers contacting you saying, I love this series, I wish there was more of this in the beginning, would you consider it, or would you say, I'll just try and add that now?
That's such a great question, because I honestly think it does apply to a lot of Vella authors. Like, you'll put your first few episodes out, and then you get that feedback from even just your peers or your friends who are trying to read to support you. I think, I guess, sort of maybe a rule of thumb is I would do as much as I could to get that feedback before I hit publish. But if it's too late and you're in that situation, I would try to add it. It depends too on how deep you are into the series already. Like, if you're already 50 episodes in and you're concerned that some of that content is actually affecting the read through in your early episodes, it might make sense to do something and try to, even if you add to it as opposed to revising. If there's, like, say you start out with an episode that's 2,200 words and you think, okay, I need to just efficiently add 200 more words to just get a little bit more content in there, it will make the episode potentially more expensive, depending on, if you bump it up into another word count bracket. But you need to, I think, you need to be continually assessing how effective your series is. And if you are at the point where you think something is actually drawing readers away, I mean, I would be interested too, Michael, in what your perspective is, just like for marketing. Is there any way to sort of remedy or repair story problems once the story is out there? But as a writer and as an editor, I would always err on the side of caution, get all the feedback you can before you hit the button and make it live. But if you can't, maybe go with sort of an addition as opposed to revision. That way, when Amazon is scanning your episode and republishing it, they see more and not changes that could that's my healthy fear, is that if they see things that are just too changed but it looks still very similar to what you had before, is that going to get, I don't know, they'll put the smack down, stop that episode from moving ahead. So that's what I would do. I'm sure there are other ways to address it in solutions, but if you're 50 episodes in, it might be out of reach to you to, maybe 5, 6 episodes in, sure, in the first 10. But yeah, I hope everybody is cautious and errs on the side of the caution before they actually get to that point. But if they do, Michael, what would you say? What would you do or recommend?
I think it's not just about the volume of content, but the volume of readers. And I think that plays a larger part into how much you factor that in. If we're talking about an author who has 5 readers and they've had 3 comments that say they didn't like this episode, then yes, it's something to revise. But if you've got thousands of readers and then you have the same number of comments, then clearly it's something where it's more of an opinion of a minority than a majority. And so with when analyzing that kind of data, it's really important to know that you truly understand that data and that you're not that the decision is made from a factual basis that rather than a reactionary basis. If you've, I can't speak from content wise, but from marketing and data wise, if you can improve the rate that people read through, then you should absolutely do it. It'll save you costs. It'll make you more money in the long run. But I would imagine that most authors on Vella right now are having more of an issue in getting the readers in the first place than having the large volume of readers and concerned about the plot point. And so for the smaller amount of readers, if you're not getting people past that episodes 1, 2, and 3, then maybe it is something content-wise that needs a heavier revision. Absolutely. Go back there and have a look, change it, hire an editor, hire or speak to the readers who have read it that you have access to and figure out what they didn't like. But then again, if you're talking about an author, back to the larger author who has a bigger following, it is more of a tricky thing to assess. And so you need to be really mindful in the ways you go about seeking that advice, who you seek it from, and how consistent the narrative is. Because if you've got you hire or speak to one person who reads an episode and says this didn't work for me and this didn't work for me, that's one person's opinion. But if you hear that from 3 or 4 more people, then it's starting to reinforce a solid belief that's going to be shared by the group of readers that you start to build, as opposed to the opinion of just one person, which goes back to then getting beta readers, getting as many eyes on your work as you can before you hit publish, so that you can address those issues well in advance of it. I think if we're talking about, say, the episodes 1, 2, and 3, and you hear from a group of people that there is a similar themes of issues with an episode, but you do have a large reader base that's read through, the solution is more what Genie has been talking about, to see how you can add to it rather than completely revise the episode so that it's lost all sense of form for the readers who moved on from it. But yeah, that would be my advice, is make sure you're really coming from the analytical perspective rather than just the emotional reactionary perspective.
All right, you guys ready to veer off course here? We're going to talk about tags. So I saw somebody ask earlier, is it okay to change your tags after your series has been out for a while? And I think the overall consensus here is, of course, right?
Absolutely. I would be changing tags constantly if they'd let me. But so your tags are right now one of the easiest ways for authors with smaller followings to gain what organic exposure there is. And it also helps develop a sense of positioning against all the other Vella series out right now, within your genres and within those tags. I went into this in a lot of detail on Book Genie, on how you can find out your positioning even if you're not on the top 250 list. But the long and the short of it is swapping out your tags and seeking the most visible spots that you can appear also in the highest positions you can for is more important than just throwing up the as specific micro niche tag that you can find. If it's all you might appear on a tag that is 300 characters long in the number one spot, but if it's got no visibility, then it's not really useful. And I've seen a lot of authors who use their author name as one of the tags as well. And I have a mixed perspective on it because the argument is right now it's very hard for an author who's writing multiple series to bring readers who are reading one series to another. And one of the ways to do it is to have a tag that has your author name, so when they click that tag, they get the whole list of works. And there are a few issues with doing that. And I've actually seen one of the more dire cases was that anyone can put any tag that they like. And so I think it was Naomi Alt who had the issue with Chew. But she did her tags, and then some random person decided they would use that tag too to get the visibility for it, and you can't control what the other people do. So filling up those tag slots on a tag that's only going to get discovery from your existing reader base is not good for gaining new readers. It's great for gaining readers you currently have to cross over, but there's so many ways you can do that. You can do it through your newsletters, through your social media. They're going to know about it. And so to prioritize the organic discovery for your internal marketing efforts rather than your external marketing efforts, I think is a wasted slot personally. And I really hope that Amazon adds the feature that connects Author Central, links the authors' names to the rest of their work in the future roadmap, and I'm sure that's something they're planning on doing. But for now, I think that specific solution comes with a mixed bag. But in answer to the larger question, should you be changing your tags? Yes, and I would do it as frequently as you can to be in a constant reassessment of how much value are you getting from the tags that you have.
Do you think that will change as the platform grows and there's more authors on it and more readers? That I know the old tactic for ebooks used to be to go into a very small niche and get that first place spot, so you could have the little bestseller tag on your book there. Do you feel like that will happen with Vella as well? Will there be more visibility to the smaller niches, or not necessarily more visibility, but more people seeking these niches?
Yeah, there will be. With any platform, strategies evolve and change as they implement new tactics, and as authors start to adapt similar strategies, then new strategies start to come into play which exploit being different. And so the strategies and tactics of what are going to get you the highest rank possible are going to be they already are constantly evolving. But with your tags, I think one of the biggest developments that will happen is more relevancy for the keywords. So for anyone who doesn't know, keywords, when you type in a search on Amazon, if you type in paranormal romance books, then you've typed in a keyword for paranormal, for romance, for books, for paranormal romance, for romance books, for paranormal books, and for the other one I'm missing, paranormal romance books. So a huge bunch of keywords. And when you create a product on Amazon, if you have in your product description or the name of your product any of those keywords, you score relevancy towards those keywords. And so you'll see it. An example is Hot Vampire Next Door has in the title vampire. So if someone's looking up vampire books, she's going to score for her title. And now Amazon ranks titles with the highest keyword value, then descriptions. And it's unclear right now, and I don't believe it does, but the value of a tag for a keyword is relatively small or non-existent. So for bug with zombie, if you type in zombie on Amazon, even though there's a large volume of readers going to read it, the ranking it appears for the word zombie is not that high right now. And so as Amazon changes the weighting of the tags and the value they have towards a keyword, that will play a larger impact. And so in the future, I'd imagine the strategy would probably evolve towards more relevant, more specific keywords, as opposed to the broader keywords that give you more exposure on the Vella homepage and within the genre pages, which seems to be the goal right now. But the long answer over, short answer is yes. They are definitely going to change the tactics, and so you should back to then keywords. You should be tags. You should be constantly revising them and seeing which ones are generating those results and which ones aren't.
From your experience with messing with tags, do you think it's more valuable to have a first page showing on one of the like front page tags, or a like top 3 bubble on a good tag, but not like a front page tag?
I think that's more of a case by case scenario. It's not a I can't make a general rule, because there's certain value to appearing on the front tags high up. The lower down we're talking about in one of those front tags, the more beneficial maybe being in the bubble of one further back is going to be, and vice versa. So there isn't a general rule, and so I'd encourage people to experiment. But if you can appear in the 4th or 5th tag down on a front page tag, that has seems to have a lot of weighting. But if you're going to appear right down at the bottom or onto the next page of a front page tag, then maybe it makes sense more to claim one of those bubble spots, because the bubbles, although they don't equal readers, they do have a lot of there's a lot less clicks to get seen, which is the more important thing. You're trying to take up as much front page real estate as you can with your covers, because even if a reader doesn't read it, they're going to see it. And so if you put it in front of them again at a later stage, they might remember what it is. The chance that they'll remember it is much higher. And so if you can't claim the front page, maybe the second page is better than being significantly less visible than the front page. And so I talk about that with the homepage strategy, and now I'm really getting into it. But the homepage tags and the what are called the trending tags or popular tags, the ones on the homepage seem to have the most value. And so if you can appear in a bubble on any of those, you're doing great. But if you can't go into those, well, then what's the next best one for you? And I would look in the genre, the categories that you've labeled your series under. For bug, it was dystopian and paranormal. So hopping into those categories, if you click on the dystopian or paranormal at the top of Kindle Vella, there'll be a new set of tags that appears. And so if you scan through those, that'll give you some alternative options that can give you not homepage, but a second page in real estate.
Callie, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, there are categories for zombie and zombies plural, and believe me, I don't play with them. I probably should. Whatever I've done has worked okay so far. I did experiment with tags early on, like in the first, I think, 60 to 90 days. We changed some things up, but now I'm back to healthy fear of, zombie singular, zombie plural. Will it make a big difference? I'm probably good where I am, but I do think it is. I mean, if it's not something that authors are even thinking about, it's really good to be aware of how it works and, play with it for yourself. But yes, sometimes
Yeah.
when you hit something that works, it's okay to be a little bit comfortable.
Yeah, I had a similar. I put a tag for post-apocalyptic, and then saw that there was apocalyptic, which was higher, and I said, "No, I got to get rid of that post." It's strange how many little subcategories there are that are almost the same. And then there was also, like, I have dystopian as my category, but I can also put dystopian as my tag, which I didn't realize I should do, and I did. But talking about experimenting, I feel like lately my reads and my interactions on my story, I'll have these like amazing days that are just like out of nowhere, where I'll get a ton of reads, and then it goes away, and I have a day where I get like one read, and I can't place, there's not really anything different I'm doing on my end between day to day. And when you go on the author pages, it seems like these are trends that are happening to everybody. So is there a way to kind of do this experimenting when all of these rapid changes are happening to the platform itself?
Yeah,
Vision.
So I've definitely, with everyone I've worked with, I've seen those spikes and trends, and they all happen in unison, and then they all plummet in unison. And as exciting and then as heartbreaking as it is, the positive sign from it is that is Amazon marketing the platform. And so the narrative that they're not bringing in readers, and they're not doing anything to boost a series performance, is just, you disregard that when you see those huge fluctuations. It seems to be that series on the top 250 list, those that are appearing, are the ones that Amazon are directing the readers towards at the moment. Through their Facebook ads efforts, and through their Kindle app efforts, it seems to direct people towards what are the most popular series on the platform. And so when you see those spikes, and then you're trying to assess, well, does this mean something I did was performing really well, or does it mean it's Amazon doing something for me? It's all about measuring it with the wider picture of the data you have. It's not, you can't just look at a single data point at a single date and say that's because I made this post on TikTok, and this time it was because I said the words, "Have you checked out my series for free?" rather than "not for free," and that means 1,000 more people read my series. That's not gonna happen. But what you can do is look at the wider picture with multiple data points, and ideally external data points from your other tools that you're using to bring readers in. If you're on Facebook, with every post you publish, as long as it's not a personal page and it's a business page, will give you a breakdown of how many clicks it got. So you can immediately go and look on that post and say, if I had 1,000 readers today, did it come from that post? And if it's only got 10 clicks, well, probably not. And you can do the same across all the platforms you're on, and see that, is it coming from my marketing efforts or is it not? And so I don't rely entirely on the Kindle Vella dashboard to extrapolate where the results are being generated from. It's what Kindle Vella gives you is a very internal analysis of a series performance, not an at the external that's bringing it in. And so you can assess how well your series is doing when you have the readers, but you can't see how many people didn't even start reading. There's no how many people visited your product page today. And you can't compare that to how many people read today to know that, well, I had 10,000 people hit my page today, but only 1,000 of them read, or only 100 of them read. And does that mean my cover's wrong or my series description is wrong? And the dashboard won't give you that. And so having marketing tools or a system in place that enables you to analyze externally your marketing efforts will really help form a clearer picture. The other thing is when you have a spike that dips, you exclude it from your analysis of how your series is performing. That's what an anomaly is. And for the month of January, I think a lot of people had a significant spike in reads when it came to the Android devices, the Kindle devices, and they started doing $5 giveaways to anyone who started reading. And so for the whole month of January, I'm sure a lot of people saw that their reads were through the roof consistently. And so how do you then analyze that and compare it to December and previous? And really the only way you can do that is to understand that the majority of those results aren't coming from your own efforts. And so really the only thing you can extrapolate is the performance of each episode and how good it is at bringing readers from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and identify weak points in your series. You can't go, I had 10 times the reads I normally do, and so what marketing, I must have done something right in my marketing channels from your Vella dashboard. You have to do it from your marketing dashboards.
Callie,
anything to add there?
I cannot touch that topic because I just obsess over the dashboard and refresh it, and I was probably like every other author. But I do have the benefit because obviously I talked to Michael about that stuff, and I'm happy to be able to work with him. And it's always nice too to hear from you, Gage, or other authors who are like, "What's going on? It seemed like a dead day," and then you do feel like your instinct as a writer is to want to jump on it and be like, "I'm going to do a social post or something." So it's one of the benefits of having the community of people that you can talk to about these things is to feel like you're not alone, and to not, I think this is really Michael's term, like not be as reactive, because I think every writer is just like, we're just bundles of reactions. We're like, I want to do more, I want to do less, I want to do better. So yeah, that is my addition. I try not to react, and I always am like, what does this mean? Should I do anything? And usually the answer is no, just keep writing, don't worry about it.
Yeah. How many days have you started with me sending you a message? It's like, is your day as bad as mine? Is your day as good as mine? But it is good to see that. It is good to be able to talk with the other authors and know that it's not something that you did, that it's just an overall trend in the platform. I think that's all the questions that I have for you guys today. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about or say, promote?
Well, I'll add that just quickly then on Book Genie, because we actually have an announcement that we've dropped a new course on copy editing. Jeannie's been teaching, well, she can tell you all about her past experience teaching, but we've dropped courses. There's one on copy editing. We have courses on marketing. There's discussions on everything from just general writing and marketing to Kindle Vella specific. We have a Kindle Vella group within there. It's where I do deeper dives and breakdowns into all the data that I'm publishing, and I teach people what they should be focusing on those dashboards. We are in the process of, we're looking to drop a new accountability system for authors too, to help them stay on track, stay on target, and focus towards their goals for each month.
Callie, you want to tell us what's going on with Bug and Keeper of the Gods?
Sure, that'd be awesome. So I'm blown away because my poor Bug readers. So it's over 200,000 words in, and almost 80 episodes tomorrow, and literally it's still day 3. So lots is happening hour by hour, and it's really awesome though, because I feel like I've gotten some really nice feedback from some readers and even some strangers when I did have a little stumble in my schedule. I had some people reach out to me, and that was amazing. Like, there are actual readers who are caring whether or not I release episodes. And so it's just been fun. I've got lots of content planned ahead, which is great. And the Keeper of Gods that I'm writing with Audrey Carlin is so much fun. It doesn't even feel like work. And co-writing with somebody is a blast. I mean, it's awesome to be able to talk to you, Gage, or engage with other authors just behind the scenes, but then to actually be able to share some of that like work product and the process out there in the world is just super fun. It's a blast. So now we're just going to have like a buddy system. Everyone on Vella is going to partner up and co-write with FFs on the platform, which is awesome. But no, really, lots of good things. Thank you to you certainly for hosting us and inviting us to share everything that's going on with us. Give us a quick preview, like where are you at word count and story-wise with Winter's Myths? What's going on in the latest and greatest in your world too?
So on Sunday, Winter's Myths will hit episode 50. So I'm excited about that. Yes, you'll see that in the newsletter if you're subscribed. And I'm still not close to the end of season 1 yet. There's still quite a bit that has to happen, but it's at the point where it's all going to be just escalating until the end of season 1. So jump on now if you're not there yet, because it's getting intense. Also, for the YouTube channel, we have some big interviews coming up. We'll probably have you guys back on again as frequently as possible, because we love to have you guys on. And I also have the 2 hosts from the Serial Fiction Show podcast will be on next week. And they're both amazing people. And Christina Farley, I'm going to be doing an interview with. And hopefully in March, we're trying to get our schedules working together, but which we mentioned in today's episode, I should be doing an interview with Nikki St. Croix. So lots of cool stuff coming up. Make sure you like and subscribe.
It's awesome, Gage. We'll be watching for sure.
And I want to say quickly thanks to Peter. He just said hello, so thanks for watching, Peter. All right, and thank you guys so much. I always appreciate when you guys come on. I know you have extremely busy schedules, and you've been extremely kind to me, so I appreciate it. And thank you to all the viewers for watching. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.